Our next guest is going to be talking to you about an area that, in church they always say this is a part that everybody can participate in. We're not going to take offering, but we're going to be talking about finances, something that we're seeing as an area that we all need can never get enough information on, enough instruction on, and we have the pleasure of having with us our brother, a friend, and we're calling that's going to be sharing with you today about minding your own business, and we'd like to welcome to Praise the Lord Live today Brother Charles Grant. Charles, good to see you again.
Brother Eugene, it's a pleasure to be with you. We're looking forward to visiting with you today.
Same here. We're going to be having you at our church, and I can't wait to tell the folks about that. You're going to be having a seminar going on for us. But Charles, talk to us a little bit about, how you got involved in this, your background and so forth, and then how we got into Mind Your Own Business, which is your own business there.
Well, I really feel blessed and fortunate. I came up through the Akron Public School System, went to the University of Akron, got a degree in finance, and had a background through Babcock & Wilcox in a variety of accounting areas. Then I went to church administration, took some good seminars and classes, and I really realized that I've had a good financial education. And as I spent about 3 years in the financial services business and counseling with clients one-on-one and teaching people about investments, money management, I made some discoveries, and one of those discoveries is that a lot of people have a relatively low financial intelligence.
Financial intelligence.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. In the school system, they focus a lot on the SAT and then your PAT, which is your professional aptitude test. But in the real world, what really counts is your financial intelligence or your financial IQ. And so I've decided to focus, and this came as a result of spending about a year and a half prayer and just inventory of looking at what are my particular strengths, gifts, and how can I best use those, the direction that the Lord was really trying to focus me on. And so he gave me this concept of minding your own business. And there's a scripture in 1 Thessalonians 4:11 that says, make it your ambition to lead a quiet life, to mind your own business, and to work with your hands, just as we told you, in order that your daily life may win the respect of outsiders, and that you might not be dependent on anyone. And I think that's what the Lord really wants people to do, is to mind their own business, but people have to come to understand what that really means.
Yes, it does. And it's interesting, Charles, like myself as a pastor, I saw that need there with just, we talk about tithing, offering, a lot of that in the church and so forth, but the need also to really just educate our people in regards to financing and stewardship. How has the church been able to embrace a teaching like you have now, Charles, and have they seen it as being a very valuable part?
Well, I think that some have, and I've had the opportunity to address congregations at a variety of churches. So some pastors have recognized the need and really trying to go the extra step to educate their congregation. And there's a need for people to be taught biblically the principles that go along with money management, because a lot of people try to just go the straight secular route in terms of how can I get ahead, what can I do for myself, and they're missing out on the biblical foundation. And there's some scriptures that I like to use in terms of setting that foundation. And when you just look at the 10 Commandments, the first thing that the Lord said to us is that I am God. You should have no other gods besides me. So that's takeoff point.
Let's start right there.
We have to recognize who God is, and that he has a purpose and a plan for our lives, and that it's not for us to try to get God to endorse our plan, but we got to get in touch with God's plan for us. So that's one scripture that I like to use. Another is Psalms 24:1, which says that the earth is the Lord's, the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein. So everything that we have, our very persons, belong to God. And we have to get in touch with that. And of course, many people are familiar with the scripture over in Matthew that talks about that no one can serve two masters. Love the one, despise the other. So we can't serve God and money. So we have to get first things first and then keep them that way.
Excellent. Let me ask you this, Charles. Now, within the seminars and so forth that you put on, what are some of the things that you try to teach people? What are some of the basics that you try to get, foundations that you try to put in place for folks to get them headed in the right direction?
Well, I like to start with an overview, kind of a long-term perspective. I believe, and I've been touting this, and I'm going to keep touting until someone proves me wrong. I believe that most people, through utilizing financial intelligence, have the wherewithal to create a retirement income in less than 5 years. I'm saying a 2 to 5 year window. Most people can do that. Now,
my attention.
Now, in investments,
Yes.
it's typically a 30 to 40 year time frame that people are on. That's a long time.
Right.
Now, personally, I'd rather do it in less than 5 than in 30 or 40 years.
Now, that's interesting. I mean, I just talked to a financial manager yesterday, and he sure didn't say 5 years. I don't know if you can give us the whole principle here now. In fact, we'll let the folks come to the seminar and find out how. But you were going to show us something also, Charles, and I don't know if we could segue you into that to show us that principle.
This is something that I think that, well, first of all, let me just say, it's been said that a picture is worth 1,000 words. And this is just a little illustration that I think illustrates the difference why some people struggle financially and why other people thrive. And if people can really understand this, get a hold of this, it'll illustrate that point. All of us receive an income from some source.
Okay.
And it really comes down to what do we do with the income. And so on each of these illustrations, I have 2 drawings. One is an income statement. The other is a balance sheet. And what I'm drawing here illustrates the cash flow patterns of different types of people. Over here we have poor.
Okay.
In the middle you have the middle class. And over here you have rich.
Okay.
Now, in each case, the upper portion, this first block is the income statement. Down below is a balance sheet. Income, expenses, assets, liabilities. This is a simple illustration to bring out that point. So the poor, when their income comes in, they take it and they spend it on things like rent, food, utilities, very basics. It never even touches the balance sheet. The middle class has a similar pattern, but that income comes in, and then in the process of spending it, we create liabilities. A home mortgage, car loans, expensive vacations, timeshare properties, you name it.
You name it.
Education, college education, where we create loans, credit cards, etc., and then it goes out by way of an expense. The rich have a pattern that's different from either of the first 2. The rich, and it may be a person sitting right next to you on the job. But they take their income and they go out and they buy assets. Assets that generate more income. It's been said for a long time that the rich get richer while the poor get poor. I think this illustration helps people understand why that is. Because we're simply taking our income and consuming it, or creating liabilities, we're causing ourselves to get further in the hole. Whereas a person who takes their income and acquires assets that generate more cash flow is improving their financial situation. And the point I want to illustrate here is that in all 3, when the income comes in, right there is the point of choice. So all of us, whether we know it or not, acknowledge it or not, we choose whether to be rich, middle class, or poor.
Now, somebody's asking you right now, Charles, I just kind of hear him coming to the screen. He said, no, he doesn't know. I didn't choose it. This little measly check called me poor. What about somebody that's challenging saying, Charles, well, hey, wait a minute, I only make $200 a week here, and this guy makes $10,000 or $50,000. How is that balance brought there where you can tell them that they can be the same way, or this principle works for them just as well as it does someone with even a greater maybe initial income?
Because it's not a function of how much a person makes. A person can be making $50,000, $100,000, $1 million a year and still be poor or middle class. It's not how much you make, it's what you do with what you have. So a person who's poor still has an income. They have the choice of what to do with that small amount that comes in. They can choose to get involved in something that's start a lemonade stand. Now, how much does it take to run a lemonade stand?
Not very much.
That's a simple example, but my point is that all of us can choose to do something that does not have a lot of cost associated with it that generates income.
Interesting.
So what you're really saying is it's more beneficial to get the assets. What kind of assets do you suggest that we acquire?
Well, the foundation that I would recommend to people is financial literacy. See, that's an asset. Our mind is our potentially greatest asset. And with the right information and then acting on that information, we have the potential to deliver ourselves from financial struggle. So it starts with financial literacy. And that's where Mind Your Own Business comes from. It's a financial literacy center. Our intent is to educate and help people execute the strategies that can get them beyond financial struggle.
You know, Charles, and it's interesting, this always intrigues me because whether we like it or not, everybody in here, we have to deal with the issue of finances and what we're doing with that. And you know, as you're talking about the where does like investment, like in the stock market and things of that nature, does that play a part at all? Because, you know, there's a lot of fear and some trepidation about doing anything along those lines. Now, does that fit into the equation at all?
Well, yes, it does. And I'm glad you asked that question, because the traditional teaching has to do with the stock market. Paper investments is how I like to classify them. Stocks, bonds, mutual funds, annuities, those type of products. And though they have a place in your investment portfolio, if you will, I personally, that's not the #1 strategy that I recommend. So I teach a variety of strategies, and we do a comparison between the strategies so people can pick and choose where they want to focus. But when you go with the stock market, the traditional thinking says that if you just can average 8 to 12% per year in your investments, in 30 or 40 years, you know, invest a small amount, you can accumulate a significant amount. However, that's a strategy that's based upon equity. Let me illustrate. There's a common saying that says that a lot of our senior citizens end up in a position that we call house rich, cash poor. Because you can't go to the grocery store or to the utility company and pay your bill with a shingle or a piece of gutter. Your house is a very valuable asset, but you can't spend it. It's not cash. So there's strategies that focus on cash flow as opposed to equity. And so I'm more of a proponent of those strategies. But the key to it all is understanding. And when I say people need to learn financial independence, I mean you have to know the terms and the concepts that operate in the financial arena, not just a vague familiarity, but you have to know them and understand them. When you can do that, it will empower you to take advantage of opportunities. As opposed to 8 to 12% in the stock market, how about 25, 50%, 100%? Hundreds, even thousands of % returns on a given investment. People say that's ludicrous. You can't do that. Well, maybe you can't do that, but I've done that. See, so people can't tell me it can't be done when I've done it. It can be done, but it starts with financial literacy.
I'm telling you, Charles, you already have a lot of folks' attention, including mine.
I know.
But that's interesting, Charles. Again, you know, and I particularly appreciate it because, you know, being a pastor, you know, you want to see your people flow into financial independence. A lot of things the church needs to evangelize the world, and finances is a big key in that. But if your congregation and your community there is taxed financially because of that lack of education, and it's that knowledge, it just makes it a struggle all the time. You know, they're praying and asking the Lord, but they don't realize that your diagram can show them actually where the problem is right there. You know, you're actually going to be coming to Mountain of the Lord, as a matter of fact. And we're looking forward to that. Our goal is to see individuals move into financial independence, and I kind of like what Charles is saying, getting ready to retire in 5 years and so forth. But that education along those lines. Where has our school system missed that? And you know, you think after all these years, we would have caught that, Charles, but what do you think that prevailing thinking is that's kept us from avoiding the thing that we have to deal with every day?
Well, excellent. In the school system, I think one of the reasons why they don't teach us the principles for getting out of the rat race is because most of the people in the school system are stuck in the rat race. So, you know, it's not a question of education or even intelligence, you know, mental capacity, but unless we learn the financial strategies that are capable to deliver us out of the rat race. And what is that? That's financial struggle. People go through week in, week out, month in, month out, for 30 to 40 years trying to get ahead and hoping that at retirement they'll have enough income that they can afford to live without having to go to work. And again, my position is that most people, through financial intelligence, can get there in 2 to 5 years. But since it's, people who are labeled with the task of teaching us are themselves stuck in the rat race, you can't teach what you don't know, and you can't leave where you won't go. So, you know, the learning has come from someplace, and I didn't get in the school system. I didn't get it through college education. Fortunately, I went to some seminars and read some books that helped me to fit these pieces together. And so now I'm trying to share back with the community some things that I've benefited over my 50 years.
Praise God.
And I think that we can help a lot of people.
You know, it's interesting, Charles, you know, with this being a ministry here with Trinity Broadcasting, how much of that do you sense in your heart that that's a ministry to bring that message out to our people? Because to me, that's just as much deliverance as Moses bringing the children of Israel out of Egypt.
That's right.
Well, you already said it, Pastor Norris, that we all have to deal with finances. It just makes sense to me that we learn how to do that. And since it's not taught to any significant degree, at least my experience has shown that to me, that I feel that it's something that the Lord has given me to do. You know, so it's a burden. It's more than just a business. It's a burden, and I must share. I must teach.
Praise God. Excellent.
And people need to learn this.
And again, I want to make sure people have the address and know how to get in contact with you. We're fortunate enough we got him locked down for August here. I am really looking forward to it. But if again, if say for instance another pastor or another group is saying, hey, you know, we need to have this gentleman in here to come talk with us, how can they get in contact with your office again there, Charles?
Right. They can call me. I don't know if the number's on the screen, but they can call me or email me. Call the station, but get in touch with me. There's time opportunity available on the schedule, and we have room, and we look forward to serving as many people, congregations as possible.
And we consider it a privilege having you do that. Isn't that interesting? Praise God. We just consider it a privilege, Charles, number one, having you on the broadcast, and then also having you share what God has given to you over these years of bringing you to this point to set some people free, man.
Well, I appreciate being here, and look forward to getting together with you and your congregation in August.
Amen.
And again, if anyone wants to talk and look at the opportunity to do similar things for their congregations, I'd be happy to entertain that.
Excellent. Well, praise God. Again, you've been having the pleasure of listening to Brother Charles Grant with Mind Your Own Business, and you want to find out about how you can do that. Again, we mentioned he's going to be with us at Mountain of the Lord Fellowship, and that's at 220 South Balt Street in Akron. We're using the theater there at this time. Praise God. Well, what Charles teaches is going to buy some building here.
Amen.
Praise God, and move on from there. But